Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Rankum. Today is a special one because I was going to do a music-related one, but I decided to go for this because, as we all know, the Big Sweaty and Collider Jon Schnepp passed away last week, and so I decided. And we all know him usually for comic books, but what a lot of people forget is that he's also a horror movie guy as well. So I decided to do horror movie villains instead. And so, yeah, and so I can't do this on my own because otherwise it'll just be me ranking my list of villains, which is boring. But so I've got with me Warren Permisson. Warren, how's it going? What's your favourite memory of Jon Schnepp?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me. I'm happy to be here. We miss you, Jon Schnepp, King of the Sweaties. Hashtag that. We miss you. The thing that struck me the most about Jon Schnepp is his energy. His energy was palpable. You could feel it in the room. You could feel it on your computer screen, whether you were watching Heroes or episodes of Collider Nightmares or the time he was a panelist, several times a panelist on Collider Movie Talk. Loved his commentaries, loved his thoughts, even though maybe sometimes I may not have always agreed with his opinions, but hey, that's the beauty of movies. You know, everyone's different. It's a case-by-case basis, and Jon Schnepp was a true fan. He was a great artist. He was a writer, producer, director. He did it all. He was a fan of it all, and most of all, he just had that electrifying energy about him. So that's probably my best thing about Jon Schnepp is just his passion, his energy that drove everything he did, every appearance that he made, whether it be in a comic book convention, respectively, or he was on Movie Talk Heroes, however you want to slice it and dice it. He was the man. So we miss you, Jon. And rest in peace, my good friend. And we wish his family and his friends, we wish him well.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I'm always I think I've talked about this a lot on various things, but I mean, for me, I'll always remember his opinions of movies because he was never afraid to do the tough. He was never afraid to do the tough things, and he would always talk it that be the voice of the people, of the fans about everything, and has never been afraid to share his opinion. And I mean, I think everyone's going to remember him for the shit rats, and I can't remember if it was Petey Peppers or Tony Ravioli, but he'll always be remembered for that as well. And I mean, I always remember him for his infamous Pluto comment on the Schmodown. So, and I've got the link in the description. So if you can donate to help Holly with the medical bills, and yeah, so yeah, and anyway, on the show, because it's a two-man panel today, I thought I would take a page from another Jon's playbook and do it the style of the top 10 show. So we've got our lists ranked in order, and then Ryan's going to go through his bottom three, then we'll alternate. And yeah, we've got 10 options, so we'll do the bottom, then Ryan will do his bottom three, then I'll do my bottom three, then he'll go to the next two, then I'll go to my next two, and then we go one apiece. If we've got any higher than significantly higher, then we can always just punt and we'll move the discussion down to a later thing. So yeah, so go ahead, see how it goes. It might be a complete mess. We'll find out. So Ron, start off. So you've got 12 options, is it?
Yes, I do. I do have a list of 12, and if there's a backup, I have a lucky 13.
Yeah. So we won't need the 13, but I'll get you to do 12, 11, and 10 first.
Alrighty. All right. to kick things off, I guess we'll go with start from the bottom here. So we'll go with number 12. And like I said, I've seen a number, and just to let those of you who are watching, I've seen a number of horror films, but I haven't seen some of the other big heavy hitters that are in the genre. So the spirit of Jon Schnepp, please forgive me. I haven't gotten around to all of them yet, but I promise I will get to them at some point or another. But going on with that, going on with the bottom 12, number 12, I have Samara from the U.S. Remake version of The Ring that starred Naomi Watts, I believe it was, and a number of other actors. I believe Martin Henderson was also in this film. So I'm going to go with, yeah, Samara, the one who crawls out of the TV, tries to suck, just tries to kill you, whatnot, 7 days. I mean, as soon as I heard that the first time I'm watching it, I think I watched it on VHS back in the day, so I was like, that was some scary stuff. Anywho, going on to, what is it, number 11 here?
Yeah.
Okay, this movie scared the heck out of me as a kid. I haven't watched it since because to me it's still scary. And yes, you may laugh at me for this, but that's okay. We're going to go with Gozer from the original Ghostbusters film. The very first Ghostbusters in 1984. He, I couldn't tell. In the white suit, runs the house upon the top of the apartment building. She's got the 2 hellhounds on either side that are possessed by Dana and, oh gosh, Al something. I can't remember Rick Moranis' character. Oh, Tully. Sorry, buddy. So there was that. And then coming in at number 10, I have the... in general, this was a villain because the whole movie's centered around this particular brand of species. And I'm talking about the vampires of Daybreakers, especially the ones who are mutated towards the end of that film. They were very creepy. They were very scary. They did some vicious things that I would rather not go into. I'll let you judge for yourself once you see the film because it is a really good film. Daybreakers, check it out. It's got Ethan Hawke. I think Willem Dafoe is in there for good measure, as well as Jurassic Park's own Sam Neill. So I'm going to go with those 3 are my bottom 3 in 12, 11, and 10.
Yeah. I actually didn't have any of them myself, but I mean, otherwise I would have punted, but never mind. But for me, for my number 12, I've got Ghostface from Scream, depending on it doesn't really matter who is under the mask, because I know in some iterations it was Billy Loomis and some was other people, but he was just one of the villains that, like, I watched this as a kid, and it because I remember sneaking out of bed at night and turning on TV, and it was the first movie, and and it was the first shot I saw. It freaked me enough that I flicked off TV and ran back into bed. So I mean, now that I watch it now, it's just like, what was I even afraid of? I mean, it was just a person in a mask. It was a classic Scooby-Doo type villain. It was like, but yeah. At number 11, I've got Damian from the Omen. This is the son of the Antichrist, and it's just one of those villains which the movie is still scary today to watch, and yeah, so it's just one of those ones that it's an iconic villain, but not a lot of people kind of remember him a lot of the time. And then at number 10, I've got Jigsaw from the Saw franchise. But I mean, this is another one which I mean, the Saw movies I do classify on the horror thing, but a lot of people will say it's more thriller than anything. But I mean, just Jigsaw as being the villain, which it's not so much in your face like a lot of the other ones on my list, but it's one of those villains that his scares comes from his devices that he sets up to trap his opponents in, and yeah, so I mean, it's just one of those villains which it's not so much a villain which jumps out at you and goes stab, 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 but he's more behind the scenes and sets them up. Ryan, what is your 9, 8, and 7?
All right, this is where things start to get interesting here, folks. For those of you watching, coming in at number 9, I have Vampires Strike Again, and another solid horror film, or at least horror thriller, if you want to go that route. 30 Days of Night with Josh Hartnett, Melissa George, as well as many others. That was a pretty good film to see in theaters. Really worth the experience in theaters. I think I watched it once more on DVD at one point, and it's still good. Maybe not one of the greats, but it's a good horror thriller if you're in the mood for that sort of thing. Surprisingly enough, coming in at number 8, I have Ghostface from Scream. So it's funny you put him in the bottom tier. I have him a little bit higher. Now, granted, it was scary during the first installment that I saw it in, and then I got used to it after after that, or after the first 45 to 50 minutes of the film, and then he comes back in Scream 4, which I think is the superior sequel to that franchise. Because 2 and 3, nah, you don't cut it for me, son. No pun intended. Scream 1 and 4, the best of the franchise. Scream 4 was so good. The surprises at the end of the film, who was really Ghostface, the twist, and then how everyone comes together at the end. Oh, it was like a boss. It was solid. And then coming in at, what is it? Where are we here? Number 7, I have the demon that possessed Emily in The Exorcism of Emily Rose. That starred Laura Linney, Tom Wilkinson. I believe it was not Charisma Carpenter, but Kristen Carpenter from Dexter. She was Dexter's sister. I believe it was Kristen Carpenter. I may have missed her first name. I apologize, Carpenter. You were great. She was really good in that. So yeah, that's my 9, 8, and 7. I think The Exorcism of Emily Rose is one of the better thrillers, if not horror thrillers, that I've seen in the last number 10, 15 or so years. So yeah, that's where it goes with 9, 8, and 7.
Yeah, and Ryan, just remember to punt if you've got something that's sort of not in the 3 that because you could have punted with Ghostface, but never mind.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's all right. This is a touch and go episode today, but yeah. For me, on my number 9, I've got is Carrie Wright from Carrie. This is one that is it's one of the classic horror movies and one of the better Stephen King books. And I mean, I've got one of the unpopular opinion that I actually preferred the remake over the original, but they're both just as good though. But I mean, Carrie is just one of those ones like just watching the movie, you can kind of pinpoint the moment where she just snaps and her psychic powers just start to go crazy. And yeah, and it's just one of those ones like it's still topical today because the bullying is still happening. Doesn't really matter if you're celebrities. Like people get bullied all the time. Anyway, my number 8, I've got the evil doll Chucky from Child's Play. This is just one of those series which, yes, the later movies have been not great, but the villain of Chucky has still been consistent in all of them, even no matter how bad the movies have gotten. And I believe it is Brad Dourif that's the voice of Chucky, and he's just the way he does the voice, the way he emotes about to attack is like it's just one of those ones which just the voice is just so creepy and that if you're going around a door you don't want to see him or hear him because with him being a doll he's so small he can hide on the bed and you can hear him before you see him. He's one of the classic horror villains that made a cameo appearance in Ready Player One as well. So I mean, the iconicity is really there. So I mean, And my number 7 I've got is Jack Torrance from The Shining. This is another iconic horror villain, and it's just one of those ones which, once again, just going through the movie, you see the progress of sane man, normal, into the progress into madman and going after everyone he loves and attacking and this is one of the, I think this is the only one of Stephen King's books that actually had a sequel book to it. I can't remember any of the other ones actually. I know there's been sequels to Carrie, but I don't think but the sequels to the movie sequels have been original. I think this is the only one that actually had a book. There was a sequel, but yeah, and that's actually been made into a movie next with Ewan McGregor playing the grown-up kid of Shining. So it's going to be interesting to see what that. And that's my 9, 8, and 7. Ryan, what is your 6 and 5?
All right, going along with number 6, I have another demon, if you will, the demon from the first installment, and some people may laugh at me for this, but that's okay. Paranormal Activity, the very first one, the first one that really counts, is the sequel. Oh gosh, what did they do with that sequel, Paranormal Activity 2? Oh my god. But anyway, the demon from Paranormal Activity, that movie just kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time. And the very end of the movie, when Katie throws Micah into the camera and the camera tips over, and you see her crawl to the camera, and then she makes that, that demon-like face, and she eats the camera or just goes right into it to end the film. I was like, woo! Man, that was good. So there's that. Coming in at number 5, I have, I hope I'm pronouncing this person's name, or this demon rather's name right. Bathsheba from the first installment of the Conjuring franchise from James Wan. The Conjuring is by far and away one of the best horror/thrillers that I've ever seen in my entire life. I think everyone in that film did a tremendously awesome-tacular job, whether it be the acting, producing, and the directing, of course. A thrill every single minute. I was on the edge of my seat. A lot of good scares in that movie. So yeah, that is my 6 and 5.
So my number 6 I've got is Norman Bates from Psycho. This is one of the. I mean, this is one of the ones that you don't know that he's the villain until very late into the movie. It's just one of those ones which you see him going around talking to this person as if it was normal. Then it's like, and because he I mean, I haven't seen this movie in a while, so I can't quite remember it. But I know that quite often he was pretending that it was his mother that was crazy, and he thought his mother was still alive and had the dead body still in the window all the time. It's just one of those villains which is just creepy. And yeah, it's just one of those ones that really you don't know where he's going to go at all. For me, and on to my number 5, I've got is Pennywise the Clown from It. This is Pennywise is just one of those villains that got better in the remake than the original, because like it was played by Tim Curry in the original and played by Alexander Skarsgård in the.
I think it was Bill Skarsgård, was it not?
It was the Skarsgård. I know that much.
I'm pretty sure it was Bill Skarsgård.
I think you're right now there, say, because I'm pretty sure they said he's going to be in the Castle Rock TV series. So yeah, I think it's Paul. You are right, it's Paul. But yeah, so Pennywise is just one of those villains which uses visions and stuff to get you, and you never know where he's going to come from next and where he's hiding, because all you're seeing is what he wants you to see. Like, sometimes he may be a clown, sometimes he may just be hiding in the background. It's just one of those ones that's really, yeah. So that's my 6 and 5. Ryan, what is your number 4?
Alrighty, now we're getting into the serious part of my list. Now we're going to bring in some legends in this arena. I'm going to go with Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare.
That is a punt.
Oh, it is a punt. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, then I'll punt my number 4. Sorry. See, I can't keep track of this stuff.
It's alright. Yeah, but yeah, that's alright. It's like, I'm just doing this on the fly, but yeah. My number 4 I've got is Sweeney Todd, played by Johnny Depp in the great musical. And it's just, this is one of those ones which I didn't think of as a horror movie until I looked on various other horror movie lists, see what ones they had, and they included Sweeney Todd. I was like, that it does actually make sense. It's just one of those ones that when you go into a barber shop, you don't expect to be cooked into a pie. I mean, and it's just, yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones, like, he was a great villain. He's doing it to try and win the love of his life back, and get revenge on the judge and everyone who cast him out of London. And it's just a good revenge story, and his relationship with Helena Bonham Carter and Johnny, his characters, like, it's just one of those ones which works so well. Ryan, what is your number 3?
Well, I hope this doesn't become a pattern where I keep punting my picks. I went with one of John Carpenter's films, and I believe it's John Carpenter's The Thing is my number 3. I hope I'm still not punting this stuff. All right, but anyway.
No, I don't have it.
Okay. Whew. All right. Take a breather. All right, well, I got John Carpenter's The Thing. I recently saw this film just in a matter of the last few years, and I loved it. It is great suspense. It is Kurt Russell at his bearded best. You know, he's kicking tail, whether it be a little bit of beard, mustache, whatever. Anyway, John Carpenter's The Thing is one of the best horror films I've ever seen. You never know who's playing who's the real thing. Is it in this person? Is it in that person? Is it possessing everyone or just one person at a time? Keeps you on your toes for sure. And yeah, it's one of the better, or one of the, I should say, one of the best John Carpenter films I've seen thus far.
My number 3 that I've got is Michael Myers from Halloween. This is one of the ones that it's an iconic horror villain, and the remake actually doesn't look that bad either, which is surprising me because I was worried about it for the longest time. But yeah, I mean, Michael Myers is just one of those villains which is always going to be around, and like, whenever you're talking about horror villains, like, you're definitely talking about 3 of them. One of them is we've just punted, and the other one is bound to be coming up as well. So I mean, it's just one of those ones that it's the villains. We're getting into these villains now that are so iconic that everyone knows them. Whenever you talk about horror movies, it always, like, they're always the first one to come up in any conversation about horror villains. Is always like, and it's just Ryan, what is your number 2?
Alrighty, number 2 is going to be another legendary horror film. This one is by, I believe it was Tobe Hooper, although some may say Spielberg directed it. I'll let you decide for yourself. They're here. One of the best one-liners I've ever heard in any film whatsoever by a little girl, and that will be Poltergeist. Poltergeist is my number 2. That is one of the scariest, best horror films I have ever seen. Granted, I was very late to this party. I saw it a number of years ago, but man, it was worth the wait because even at the age that I watched it in my mid-20s, maybe early 20s, mid-20s, somewhere in there. What can I say, folks? It's great. It's a masterpiece. If you have not seen Poltergeist and you want to understand the meaning of horror, watch Poltergeist, because as soon as the TV flips on and the little girl turns around and looks at her parents and just says, "They're here," you know some serious, you know what is about to go down in that house. So check out Poltergeist. That's my number 2.
Now, I've got a feeling that your number 1 might be my number 2, because my number 2 is Jason from Friday the 13th. Is that your number 1, or?
No, my number 1 is actually going to be a punt from earlier.
It is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. We discussed it earlier, so number 1 would technically be a punt because that character was already mentioned.
Okay. Yeah. Jason is another one of those iconic horror villains that is just one of those ones which every time you see a hockey mask, you instantly think of Jason. I mean, every time, it's just one of those ones which, like, in anything, whenever you hear the, I can't do it as good as anyone, like, but every time you hear that sound effect, but you know that Jason's about to strike, and I know that a story that my parents have told me before is that they went to see Friday the 13th in 3D at one stage, and they got so freaked out when a machete came flying right at them, like landed in between. I think that one of the people that they were with ran from the cinema because apparently it was so real. But yeah, but it was just one of those stories I always remember from my parents telling me about. It's just Friday the 13th is just one of those ones that you always think about, and it's just one of those classic horror villains that will never go away. What is your number 1 there, Ryan?
Well, since number 1 is a punt from earlier, I guess I can still mention it now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, number 1, surprisingly, is going to be Jigsaw from the first installment of Saw, because when I watched that movie, it scared me so much to the point where I couldn't sleep for several days, maybe even a week. That film scared me so bad that I couldn't sleep for a week. So Jigsaw, well done. You did your job, which makes me not want to watch any more of your installments, despite the fact that the recent reboot that came out just this past year is simply called Jigsaw, starred my girl, Laura Vandervoort, from my favorite show of all time, Smallville, a.k.a. she was the real Supergirl. Sorry, Melissa Benoist, you don't cut it. But yeah, I couldn't even see Jigsaw, even though my girl was in it. I'm like, no, not a Jigsaw movie. I can't do it. So yeah, Jigsaw was my number 1. But I will say, though, Friday the 13th, I have not, or not, is it Friday the 13th? Yeah, Friday the 13th. I have not seen the original. I've only seen the remake, which was in 2009 with Jared Padalecki of Supernatural and Daniel Panabaker, who I believe is on The Flash. So I got to be honest, though, I really like that reboot. I really like that. I know most people don't, but for me, of the exposure I've had to the Friday the 13th franchise, that is my favorite one. Granted, it's the only one I've seen, but thus far, I really enjoyed it. So if you haven't seen the reboot of Friday the 13th, I would give it a whirl, because Perry Nemiroff actually has mentioned it quite a few times, saying that she actually enjoyed it as well. So just throwing that out there for you folks.
Yeah, and my number 1 was also a punt from earlier. That's Freddy Krueger. I mean, Freddy Krueger is just one of the. Once again, I mean, I know it's a theme of my one, but it's just a lot of the. It's another one of the iconic horror films that most you need to see. and it's just one of those ones like it makes you afraid to go to sleep if you watch it. It's like if I go to sleep, will Freddy come and get me? It's like and the first movie actually was good because I'm pretty sure it was Johnny Depp's first movie role, because he played the boyfriend of one of the people that got slaughtered. So I mean,
yeah,
yes,
I saw the first one. Yeah, I did. Yeah, that I saw the reboot in 2010. Ooh, it was not good. But the original, yes, Johnny Depp, and then the phone scene. I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. I'm like, ooh, so good. I gave that film a solid 8 out of 10. Freddy Krueger, I know you got 10 fingers, but in this case, you got 8, son. But it's still good. If you have not seen the original, treat yourself, because it is truly one of the icons that deserves to be seen.
yeah. And I mean, I have to say one good thing I will say about the reboot is I did like whoever the actor was that played Freddy. I did like his.
Yes, Jackie Earl Haley from Watchmen.
Yeah, I liked his version of
Mm-hmm.
Freddy. I mean, it may have been the only good thing about it, but
It had a good, hip, young cast. I mean, you had, before she was Rooney Mara, you had Rooney Mara. You had Kyle Gallner from Smallville. He played the Flash. You got Katie Cassidy, who later on went on to play Black Canary on CW's Arrow. I mean, you had Clancy Brown, who was the voice of Lex Luthor in Superman the Animated Series. I mean, that's just
Mr.
and you had Connie Britton from Friday Night Lights. You had an all-star cast, and the film just didn't go that way. But hey, you can't blame the actors for getting a paycheck, man. You can't blame them for that. Plus, it was produced by Michael Bay, which didn't do the film any favors.
Yeah. Now, now we get to the fun part where we decide that we've mashed the lists together and making all combined lists. So you had Jigsaw at number 1, I had him at 10, I had Freddy at number 1, and you had him at 4, was it?
Yeah, Freddy Krueger was number 4. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Freddy is number 1 easily. And also making a huge jump for my list is Jigsaw, because you had him number 1. That means and it's another commonality that we had. The only other commonality we had was Ghostface, and that was you had him at 8, I had him at 12. So it doesn't. So we'll lock him in at 8 anyway, because because of that, I probably wouldn't put him higher than that. What was your number 2?
2 was Poltergeist.
Yep. So because I got my number 1 up there, so Poltergeist will go 3. And Jason will go at 4, because that's my number 2. What was your number 3?
3 was John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, I had Michael Myers, and so Michael Myers will go 5, because you got your 2 at higher at 3. So
Awesome.
And the Thing is at 6. What was your number 4?
4 was Freddy.
Oh, yeah. So my number 4 was Sweeney Todd. So, what was your 5?
5 was Bathsheba from The Conjuring, the demon from The Conjuring.
Yeah, so I mean, if it's all right for you, I'll put Sweeney Todd at 7. And we had already locked Ghostface at 8. So put Bathsheba at 9 because
Right.
my 4 got higher. Just put Pennywise at 10.
Yeah, I cannot believe I didn't have Pennywise anywhere on my list. I totally forgot about that.
Don't worry, I'm sure a lot of the people in the chat can't believe you didn't have Pennywise.
Sorry, fans. I mean, I would put him on the list. It's just, to me, he's a good villain and stuff, but to me, he just didn't really scare me. He's more there for thrills rather than scares. I don't know. I mean, even though the kid got his arm ripped off, that didn't. I mean, that's the only thing that remotely kind of scared me. But other than that,
yeah,
he's a good villain. He's a good villain. I'm not gonna lie, and I am excited for what is it? It Chapter 2. I can't wait for the sequel.
Yeah, and there's a few other ones that got mentioned in the chat that I didn't put on for me is people brought up the shark from Jaws. For me, like it was the same. It was just one of those ones that that I didn't really consider Jaws a horror movie myself. I mean, it probably was, but
Mark Ellis would say it's a good horror film.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about some of those ones in a minute. What was your number 6?
6 was the demon from Paranormal Activity, the first one.
So mine was Norman Bates. So,
and I still have not seen Psycho. I'm sorry, peoples.
I mean, you had Bathsheba high, so Norman will go 11, and 12 is the Conjuring Demon.
Bathsheba, yeah.
The other one is what it. Paranormal Activity Demon is what I meant to go by.
Oh, that's what you meant. Okay.
Yeah,
it was just. I don't think it had a specific name. It was just whoever possessed Katie in Paranormal Activity. So that's why I just call it the demon.
But yeah, so I mean that's our list. Ryan, what was your one honourable mention that you had there?
It was from the North American remake of Ju-On, The Grudge. It was Kyoko from The Grudge. It starred Sarah Michelle Gellar, Bill Pullman, and many others. So, yeah, she kind of creeped me out with the I can't even make the sound. My voice is shot. But, yeah, that demon in The Grudge, Kyoko, was pretty good. Plus, the trailer for that movie was so good. I mean, the movie was good, too, but the trailer was... whew. Some of these horror films or horror/thriller, they really know how to promote them depending on what studio is distributing them.
Yeah, and I mean for me, like some of my honorable mentions later, I had the Armitage family from Get Out. I had the monster from Cloverfield. I had Death from Final Destination, which can be classed as a villain even though you didn't see it. I did consider putting it on my list. It's just one of those, like, I can't really put it above Ghostface. James McAvoy's character from Split, whichever character you want to call him at the time. And I also had Leprechaun there, and in the chat, some that came up. One that I didn't consider. That I can't believe I actually left off was Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, he's not really that scary though. He just talks a lot. He bites people's ears off, but that's really not all that violent. I've seen more violent characters in films than Hannibal Lecter. He just gives good monologues to Jodie Foster behind steel glass.
Yeah,
or behind glass, I should say.
Yeah, and I mean, I totally get that. I like there's Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I need to see that movie.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these I haven't actually seen, so I couldn't put them on myself. There's Pinhead from Hellraiser, Annie Walks from Misery.
I haven't seen that either. I gotta say, man, there's a ton. I gotta say.
Yeah. The Predator and Xenomorph from Alien and the Predator franchise also came up in the chat. So
I need to see Aliens. I have seen Alien, but I haven't seen the original Predator yet.
You'll see more Alien movies than I have. So.
Oh, okay. See, we both have some mile-long homework that we need to complete at some point or another before the chat starts yelling at us again.
Yeah.
Why didn't you include these characters?
Yeah, I mean, like, some of them, like, I've seen enough of the alien, but it was just one of those ones which it doesn't scare me. The xenomorphs do not scare me. It's
it's just
like
there.
from what I've seen in the trailers, like, yeah, it's an alien. I mean, not scary. Anyway, our final list that we have is at number 12. We've got the demon from Paranormal Activity. At number 11, we've got Norman Bates. At number 10, we've got Pennywise. At number 8, we've got Bathsheba. At number 9, we've got Bathsheba. Sorry. At number 8, we've got Ghostface. At number 7, we've got Sweeney Todd. At number 6, we've got The Thing. At number 5, we've got Michael Myers. At number 4, we've got Jason. At number 3, we've got Poltergeist. At number 2, we've got Jigsaw. And at number 1, we've got Freddy Krueger. So, I mean, that's a fun list. It was a short episode today, but it was one of those ones which we wanted to do for Schnepp, and admittedly, I tried to get. There's so many people I tried to get, but there's just one of those days where everyone was busy or they weren't going to be back in time. So, I mean, it's just one of those days in which everyone's busy. So we had just a quick format change for this, but yeah. Ryan, where can people find you online?
Yes, sir. You can find me on Facebook at Ryan Permison. That's RyanPermison. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. And make sure you check out our channel known as Nerd Culture. You can find us on YouTube at Nerd Culture. And make sure you're following us on Twitter and Instagram at It's Nerd Culture. We got a bunch of new videos coming your way, so stay tuned for that. And we'll see you there. Thanks for having me today.
And for me, you can find me on Take Three Productions, hosting Rankum every week. The poll for next week is already up. I put that one up earlier this time around because we already had the topics set. So go and vote. At the moment, it's looking like it's going to be Harry Potter characters, but I'll leave it open for another day. You will probably catch me on the summit tomorrow, and it's going to be a live summit tomorrow as well. So, yeah, and you can also catch me competing in trivia, whether it's on Multiplex or Worldwide Movie Games, all over the place, wherever you can find trivia. And, yeah, and until next week, come back again when we all rank him.